Up next, Authentically Detroit welcomes Jay Smith, an official influencer for Detroit Public Schools Community District, to discuss a youth perspective on politics ahead of the 2026 Michigan primary election. And of course, what we're reading from the Michigan Chronicle, we're going to talk about how Wayne County voters will shape the Democratic Party's future, and in the race for U.S. Senate, what the entire country's been talking about, Governor Whitmer is getting in the mix. She endorsed Haley Stevens last week. We're going to talk about that and what it means for the race. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Interested in renting space for corporate events, meetings, conferences, social events, or resource fairs? The Stoudemire Wellness Hub and Mac Market are available for rental by members, residents, businesses, and organizations. We offer rentals for activities such as corporate events, social events, meetings, conferences, art classes, fitness classes, and more. To learn more about our rentals and reserve space, visit ecn-detroit.org/space rental.
What's up, Detroit? Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit. We're broadcasting live from the Stoudemire inside of the Eastside Community Network. I'm Sam Robinson.
And I'm Donna Davidson.
We want to thank you so much for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people here in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. Today, we have Jay Smith here to discuss politics from the perspective of someone that you probably haven't been hearing much of. Young people. And if you missed our candidate forum, please check it out. The full replay is up on Authentically Detroit's YouTube channel under live videos. Now, we are here in studio with Jay Smith. Jay, we met at the African World Festival 2 weeks ago, maybe a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks now. Yeah. But at that African World Fest, I talked to a number of older, wiser, more experienced folks who tell me that they're voting for a candidate based on the ads that they see on TV. Now, you told me that you're not actually able to vote yet. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so if you were able to vote, you would not be voting for the candidate that you saw on the TV ads. You said that you may have seen some of those ads, some of those mailers as well, talking about Haley Stevens and Barack Obama. It's been incredibly effective for Stevens. Of course, Obama worked with Haley Stevens on his auto rescue back in his presidency. And she's using that fact. She's using his endorsement of her in 2018 and 20. That was in general elections against Republicans to campaign in 2026 against Abdul al-Sayed. You mentioned to me that his politics are exciting to you.
Yes. One thing that's really concerned me about Haley Stevens is the fact that I haven't seen anything about her that doesn't have Obama's face on it. The one thing that I would look for in a candidate is what they are going to do for the people. What are you going to do for us? And Abdul he's stated over and over what his plan is, and he's been very consistent in that. And when he's been asked questions to bait him into being let off his track, he's always returned back to what he's for, which is the people.
Right. You know, I do want to say that there is a perspective that older voters are all for Haley Stevens because of the Obama commercial. There's certainly many people who are not.
Yes.
And many people on my Facebook page. In fact, I'd have to say that 90% at least of the people who are commenting on politics, Black people my age or thereabouts, are actually for Abdul al-Sayed. He got the support from the Black slate. He's gotten support from a lot of different places. I think there's a mix, but I think that among younger voters, there's less of a mix.
Yes.
Is that safe to say that among younger voters there is, and I know that there's some polls that have said that 67% of older Black voters are supporting him. And maybe I just don't know Black people because that's not what I'm actually seeing and hearing in my circles.
I feel like that might also have a lot to do with the people that you surround yourself with, because you don't seem like the type of woman to surround yourself with people who aren't well-versed and educated in what they do. But I know a lot of people who have seen both candidates, and because they see her with Obama and they don't know who Abdul Saeed is and they don't really want to do the research, they just go off of what they've seen, they're going to vote for the lady who has Obama behind her. And I don't think that's really, I don't think who I'm blaming is the people who are voting. I think what I'm more upset about is the fact that she's trying to use him as her whole campaign. And that's not something I'm looking for in a candidate, to be honest.
I agree with that. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that I think that, and I posted this on Facebook, I think it was yesterday, that there's no such thing as the black vote. Yeah. There's black people vote, and we have differences of opinion. And it all comes from our own perspectives. Those people who are really invested in a lot of issues, and for me, I'm really an issues-driven person around justice, they really do care what a candidate says.
Yes.
There's other people who care but are not as invested, and it's easier for them to be persuaded. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you all. And then there's some people who actually agree, because the other thing is that there's a split in the Democratic Party right now around Gaza. There are some people who say, listen, Israel has the right to defend itself. Jewish people have always been our allies, and we have to stick with them. And I hear that from some people. Or other people, well, this is a complicated issue. It's not a local issue, and we need to just focus on Michigan. Are you hearing that, Sam? Those things?
Yeah. I mean, I've over the last couple of weeks, I've heard literally everything. And, one of the big things that I hear, to Jay's point, is she mentioned people didn't know who Abdul Al-Sayed was. He's, of course, the former Detroit and Wayne County Health Director. When he was, I'm just not sure that he was visible enough for people just sort of watching the news every night, or maybe they have a subscription to the Free Press or the news, but they're not really paying attention to what's happening inside the Wayne County Juvenile Justice Center.
He did run for governor in 2018.
And so people remember him for his run for governor. A lot of the people that I hear that support him, even just like at the Apple store, I just talked to a guy named Logan Page. He told me that a lot of folks that were around in his 2018 gubernatorial bid are back. And I do think that gubernatorial bid sort of perfectly set up his ability to have a statewide base. He has supporters in Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Saginaw, Traverse City, all over the state. Of course, Haley Stevens has been in Congress since Abdul has been a political candidate. She was first elected in 2018. And I hear a lot of folks saying that they're going to go with what they know. Yes. I hear some folks saying that they've seen Haley in their communities, and she's certainly in the last stretch of this race been targeting black voters. Both Abdul El-Sayed and Haley Stevens are really prioritizing black voters in this last few days of the race.
I don't think that people have really seen her in the Detroit community outside of political elites. She hasn't been showing
I talked
up.
to a guy named Devon James at Northwestern High School Alumni's Soul Fest. He told me that he has seen Haley Stevens at community events. What
I mean is, prior to this run for Senate, I don't think that she has been that visible in this community.
I don't.
I believe that Barack Obama is the thing that people connect her with, and that's what got her over the edge. Because I did not know anything about Haley Stevens, and I'm out, sometimes anyway, and I read a lot about people. So I think that she was invited into a lot of spaces, and she has done a good job campaigning in a lot of spaces, especially spaces where she expects those type of people. She was in a couple of churches yesterday. She goes to lots and lots of churches, and so people do see her there.
And I think, too, I will just say this as somebody that has observed her in these spaces before she was running for Congress as just a member of Congress from 21 to now. I've been covering the legislature and Michigan's congressional delegation. When she's in our spaces, maybe not your spaces, Donna, but when she's around black people, like at Fixins or at a church or at Greater Grace with Wendell Anthony, with Jim Clyburn, she's very comfortable, and it's a real, it's a reciprocal relationship that she has with a lot of those folks.
She does have that, but when she ran the first time, she was running in Birmingham and Rochester Hills. She was not running in Detroit. Yes. And I think it's safe to say that 11th congressional district is not one that really. She had to turn out Detroiters.
Yes.
In fact, the parts of Oakland County that she was representing were majority white. Parts. Now, she's a good politician, I suppose, and she knows she's comfortable with people. She worked on Obama's auto rescue thing. And so she does have those skill sets. I'm not looking at her political skills. I go with what Jay says. I just don't know what she's planning to do that will solve the problems. What I hear is what she's not going to do. I'm not going to stand up. She doesn't support ICE, she says. She's going to fight Trump, and she says she's going to do those things. But I don't have a sense of where her justice platform is.
Yeah.
Abdul is also a person who is Arab American in a city where there is tension, longstanding tension between Arab and black voters.
Yes.
And I think it's also helpful to point out that some people who don't know him but do know his name is Abdul El Sayed will not trust him on the basis of his identity because of longstanding feelings that those people did not support us. And then you also have a layer of people who are still upset about 2024 and who believe that the Arab community in the Metro Detroit area helped get Trump elected because they didn't stand up and they didn't fight for Kamala Harris. Now, he did endorse Harris, but people say he didn't all the time. So I think there's a number of factors that give her some level of credibility in our community, but I don't think it's true that she has been exceptionally visible until this Senate run inside of our community.
I think it's wonderful that you said that, actually, and you brought up a wonderful point that I was going to bring up. In black communities, sometimes there's tensions with Arab Americans, and I have actually heard that amongst people that, like, hey, I'm not going to vote for him because that's just from my personal experience. That's not the type of person who I want in office. And not saying this is my opinion, but it is an opinion that I've heard. And I feel like at one point do we start voting for what we actually want to see happen? Because we keep voting for people who are not doing what we want them to do. But then when a person comes to you and says, hey, I want you to have free health care, you don't want to vote for him because he's an Arab American.
But that's wrong if somebody says, I don't want to vote for a black person.
Exactly.
Because I don't trust those people. And it's interesting that in the United States, in a nation where white people enslaved black people, in a nation where you have whole memes about Karens calling the police on people, somehow there's more trust in a white woman than in an Arab man. And that, to me, is how white supremacy works. Somehow they are made innocent unless proven guilty, but other people of color are guilty unless proven innocent. And that is, to me, how internalized racism works, where we are more willing to hold other people of color accountable than even the white people who we know have been oppressive in recent history. And now, the majority of white people in the United States, men and women, I believe, voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. So if we're going on those majorities, why would we be angrier at the Arab community than at the white community?
Well, I'll tell you why. Is because they think that Michigan's Arab community, Muslim community, played a role in Kamala Harris's defeat to Donald Trump.
They don't think that the white community did?
Well, they also will blame Hispanic males who voted 46%
That's my point.
for. So it's all,
we don't know how they voted.
There's a type of...
We don't know how Hispanic males voted. The other thing is these statistics are thrown out, and when a person gets deported, we say, well, they shouldn't have voted for Donald Trump. Most people, the vast majority of people who are immigrants at risk of deportation can't vote.
Exactly.
I think that the reality is that we hold other people of color accountable at a higher level than we hold white people accountable.
Yeah. There's a certain segment of Democrats in Detroit who are so quick to say things that I think progressive leftists or members of other minority groups would call racist or xenophobic. Of course, the video that I took with the Farmington school board member, Angie Smith, she's been criticized for saying that, don't come in here speaking Arabic, don't come out playing your Arabic music. Abdul Al-Sayed, of course, has never done that. I think she may have been referencing Amir Maqlid, the University of Michigan regent who defeated Jordan Acker. Al-Sayed has not come out to any Arabic music, but of course, that prompted the Haley Stevens campaign to condemn those comments. Angie Smith is a school board member who the Stevens campaign has actually propped up. I think they put a photo of her on their Instagram as an endorsement, as a notable endorsement. And so talking to folks at that event, Angie Smith is not the only person that will wade into that conversation about how Arab Muslims or people like Abdul Al-Sayed who supported Uncommitted, despite the fact they endorsed and voted for Kamala Harris, they feel like Uncommitted in February. That was, of course, the protest against President Joe Biden. They feel like that had to do with Kamala Harris's loss.
We blame everybody but Kamala Harris for losing.
You saw Jim Clyburn blame black voters yesterday.
Yeah, well, Jim Clyburn is the one who brought us Joe Biden. Remember, he's played such a significant role. First of all, Clyburn needs to stay out of Detroit politics. When he says he doesn't see black people at these rallies, it's none of his business. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but who are you to tell black people? And that really upsets me for him to be positioned as a spokesperson for black people. He certainly has his right to his opinion, but when he starts talking about what black people don't like and want and whatever, it's annoying to me.
I wonder how many black people know who Jim Clyburn is. And I say that not in disrespect at all, right?
But a lot of the people
we're so out of touch with just American political culture. Not everybody knows who these characters are, these longstanding.
Not
if you
young
ask,
people, young people, but Clyburn has a particular, and that's where you start seeing the age divide. But keep in mind this other thing. For so long, black people had to fight our way into political representation. We didn't have it. We couldn't vote. When we voted, people discriminated against us. And I think there's a lot of people feeling like we just got our own representation. Mm-hmm. And now you have these other people of color who don't even like us coming in. And it's almost like, this internecine warfare where I've heard people say things like the browning of the black vote is a problem. This feeling that other people of color should not be able to be represented at the national level because they cannot be trusted with our issues.
Yeah, and they point to Shri Tanadar and, of course, Rashida Tlaib.
And they compare them and say they're the same person.
Well, they're, of course, not. They are diametrically opposed. They are both non-black congressional delegates that represent Detroit. There's an interesting thing that a person that you don't like, but he's been so funny on Facebook lately, Keith Williams. He told me that Detroit does not have a Jim Clyburn, and I thought that was a really compelling thing to say. Of course, John Conyers, people like Kwame Kilpatrick's mom, people like Griggs. What was his first name? I'm not from Detroit, and so I don't have the
Diggs,
full...
you mean?
Diggs, yes. Charles Diggs. Excuse me. Jeez.
But keep in mind...
Black political power is not something at the root of Shri Tanadar or Rashida Tlaib's politics. And so that's why...
Rashida Tlaib is a Palestinian woman who was born and raised in Detroit and grew up among black people. About 20 to 25% of the electorate of eligible black voters in Detroit participate in the voting franchise. 30% in some years, 40% in a lot of years. So I think there is this pretense that the black political establishment is representative of black people all over the city when a lot of people are just completely pulled out of politics. Rashida Tlaib is extremely popular among people who actually vote in her district. When she was voting in the 13th Congressional District, she was popular here. She's now in the 12th Congressional District, and she's popular there. And so I guess my issue with a person like Keith Williams is not personal to him, but my positioning is he wants to be Jim Clyburn. He's not because he doesn't have that kind of sway. But people like him will dismiss issues like environmental justice issues as not really Black issues. And most of the progressive policies that I care about are not really Black issues when he speaks. He cares about reparations. He cares about Black businesses and Black capitalism. But the average Detroit resident is trying to figure out, how am I going to afford where I'm going to live? And so my issue is not liking a person personally. I don't know Keith. And sometimes some people think Donald Trump is funny. My focus in politics is, are you advocating for and standing for issues that will materially impact Black people in a positive way? Yes. And I believe Rashida Tlaib has. I know she has. She was my congresswoman, and she actually had her service office in our building. She had more people that she served than any other congressperson in Michigan. I mean, you're talking about constituent services where people are coming saying, my Social Security check got cut, my Medicaid got cut, I need help getting a birth, my passport, I need help with these things that are happening. And her constituent services system is par none the best in our state. That is what I think matters when you're talking about voters. Now compare that to Sri Thanadar. Sri Thanadar is nowhere to be found. He's not fighting for our issues. When we had polluted air and when Stellantis was coming in and building up this new plant that they built, Rashida Tlaib was telling us before anybody else about the environmental dangers in our community. She and Stephanie Chang, who is also not Black, helped circulate a petition, got over 1,000 signatures from people in our community saying, please do something to make sure our environmental health is good. Now, you know, Keith Williams wouldn't care about that, but there's many Black people who do. And I think that's when it gets me. It's because it's not a personality thing for me. It is absolutely about issues. It is about, what have you done for our community? What will you do for our community? And that takes me back to you, Jay, because that's what you want to know, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I just, like, if I was voting today, my vote would 100,000% go to Abdul, because Haley, like, it feels like Haley's trying to manipulate Black voters in every way possible. Like I've seen ads for Abdul. Ads against Abdul where they call him a misogynist, or they call him all different types of things. I feel like she's trying to manipulate black voters in every way that she possibly can, especially with using the first Black president as a whole campaign run. Like, I don't know anything that she stands for. I just know that she wants me to vote for her.
Yeah.
And
so yeah,
I would like to know what ideals is she running on? Like,
and this is for Democrats in period, and people running for office. There are many people who are in office right now who I think are doing a good job. But because you are a Black person who is also a Democrat does not mean that I think you are acting on our behalf.
Yeah.
Okay? I am not, I believe, and I hate to say this because I am such a proud Black person, and I really do believe Black people have to be, organized and willing to build our own power. But building our power does not mean that we allow somebody simply because they are Black to represent us. It does not mean that we allow somebody who comes to our churches and who comes to our hangouts get our vote simply because they are friendly or cool with Black people. I'm 100% focused on, what are your policies? What do you stand for? What will you do if you're elected to office? That's it.
Yes. Like, if you look at Mom Donnie has done more in the community than I've ever seen anybody in a political office do ever. Yeah. And he's only been in 130 days or something, or 110. Yeah. If you look at Mary Sheffield is most of the reason that I've gotten to school on time a lot of days. Wow. She's a lot of the reason where I can do a lot of stuff that I want to do, because I don't have to pay to get on the bus. I don't have to, she's works in the community actively. She's helped me out in more ways than she probably even knows. And she makes sure she stays connected with young people in the community, which I feel like has been lost in politics. Like, I feel like a lot of politicians have lost the fact that that young people are still here. One
of the most monumental things she did, the bus is one of them, right?
Yes.
The other thing is ensuring that everybody who worked full-time in the city of Detroit had a living wage.
Yes.
That is crazy. That is so beautiful. And it's the kind of thing that a mayor can do that changes circumstances for people and says everybody who works for me deserves a living wage. You can set a standard for other people when you follow that standard. That free bus fare is beautiful. I remember, I worked at the Youth Development Commission. I remember how much money you used to have to spend purchasing bus tickets for young people over the summer just to make sure they could get to and from work, or a bus card. And this is year round, right? All night and day.
Yeah. And honestly, like she's done so much for my community, especially people my age, with the summer Fridays, the Occupy the Summers, everything. There was an Occupy the Summer a few days ago where there was money donated to people, young people in business. Do you know how much that means for our community? Like we are being invested in a way that I haven't seen anybody invest in us. Yeah. Like Mary Sheffield is one of them ones. And I feel like the issue with voters is a lot deeper than we know. Like I feel like when we look at who we're going to vote for, I feel like a lot of the reason people don't want to vote for Abdul is because the black people don't really mesh well with Arab Americans. I feel like we have been discriminated against and beat down so long that we think everybody is against us.
I have to say that I hear that about Arab Americans, right?
Yes.
Arab American people hate us.
Yeah.
And then I go to the grocery store where Arab American people work, Lafayette Market. They hire these women and they make the best sweet potato pies ever. And I went there on Christmas Eve and they're like, listen, we're open on Christmas. If you need anything else, everybody in that store from front to back is nice. They hire black people. Yes. They are friendly to black people. And I have all these positive experiences with human beings. Mm-hmm. And then something happens where one Arab person does something and it becomes the entire Arab community.
I feel like
that's how racism works, where you blame a whole group of people for the actions of some people.
Yes. And I feel like we've been marginalized so much that we started marginalizing other people. And people don't realize that that's not okay. Just because it happened to you doesn't mean that you can just do it to other people and that means it's okay. That will never be okay, actually. Just because you saw one person do that, but you see another person has a whole different perspective on things, has a whole different plan for things, but you would rather vote for the woman who's using a black man.
Wow. And, and let me say this too, because I am humble enough to understand I'm not perfect.
Yes.
And so I don't look for perfection in other people. Sometimes I say the wrong thing and do the wrong thing. The question is, where is my heart?
Yes.
And you can decide where it is. You can say, you know what, she messed up this time, and therefore her heart is in a bad place. I think we play this gotcha game with politics. We look for everything they may have said or done, and we find this flaw, and then we decide to disqualify the whole human being. Mm-hmm. My issue is not even that commercial, because I could have that commercial and I'd be irritated if there were not all of these other things. If she did not create a fake ad from his campaign and having it be Mike Rogers and send it out and say that Mike Rogers endorsed him, if she did not do some of those things, and all of this stuff about him being anti-woman, to me, that is Islamophobia in disguise, because the bias against people who are a Muslim is that they hate women. Yeah. A good friend of mine is Muslim. He ran for Congress as a Muslim, Keith Ellison, and guess what? He was accused of hating women. Yes. And he is a very progressive person in terms of the right to choose, all of the issues that I wanted somebody to be aggressive, and he worships differently than I do. Yes. And again, what kind of America do we want to see? Do we want to see an America where all the other people of color get treated badly except for black people because we paid our dues and we built this country? Or do we want to understand that justice exists for everybody?
Yes. And I love the way you said that, because in a lot of ways you said a lot of things that I couldn't really articulate myself. And I really appreciate your perspective on that. And I watched an interview of Abdul, and they asked him how he felt about trans rights. And as a black lesbian woman, that really mattered to me. Like that, his opinion on that really mattered to me. So that video really caught my attention. And something he said really interested me. He said, when you start taking away rights from one person, you opening up the door for them to take rights from you. So he said that he advocates for everybody. He advocates for everybody, and that's something that I haven't heard a lot of politicians say. And to know that if that was something that I decide, not that it is something I want to do, if that was something that I decided to do in my life, that I would be supported by the person who I want to be in office, you know?
Yeah. I don't know Haley Stevens. I don't know that she wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
I know Abdul.
Yeah.
I've known him for 10 years. I knew him when he worked in the health department. My daughter worked on his campaign when he was running for governor. And he's a person I could call up and say, I need help with this, or he's been on our show before. So also, I'm not even just looking at campaign propaganda. I'm looking at seeing a person when they're running for office, seeing them when they're not running for office, and just seeing where their heart is. And it gives me a sense of where he is. I don't think that, again, I'm not trying to advocate against a candidate, but I do think what you said is really significant, and that is you support people because of what they're going to do, what they say they're going to do. And I have my issues and things I agree about. So what specifically does Abdul support that you agree with?
The biggest thing is free healthcare. Because I know how difficult it has been for me to get to a good doctor. I know how difficult it is for me to get to a good dentist. And we have insurance and stuff, but how hard it is to access good healthcare here without having to pay an arm and a leg for it, that is something that I really, really support. That is something that like, free healthcare is something we need, like, genuinely. And I don't see enough people advocating for it. And the fact that he does really has moved me for real.
So my son had a job, and he was laid off, and he got another job a couple weeks later. But when you get another job, then you have a waiting period to get your insurance.
Yeah.
And in that waiting period, he went to the doctor and had some work done. And he was okay, but he had to go to the doctor. And he ended up owing, $13,000 for one doctor's visit. So now he's back at work.
Yeah.
And he has insurance. It's not like he's not working, getting insurance. And then you have other people who are insured, and their deductible is $10,000.
Yes. And then what about those people who can't get insurance? What about those people who can't work? What about those people who are homeless? What if they have to go to the hospital? Now they're left with a $10,000 debt that they'll never be able to pay.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ifs. And then the other thing is that this was a true situation. I went through a job change, right? And so I took my daughter to visit a friend. She fell down and hurt her toe. And so over the course of a few hours, her toe was hurting so badly. And I was like, in one of the few periods of my life where I did not have health insurance, and I didn't know what to do. So I'm terrified because it's like your toe is hurting, and I'm driving her around, and I'm buying her tape and trying to tape it up and doing everything but taking her to the doctor. Finally, I remembered, okay, if you go to, emergency, they have to treat you. So I take her to the emergency room. This is like 20 years ago. Take her to the emergency room, and her toe's broken. But I delayed getting her care because I didn't think I could afford to get her health care.
Yes.
During COVID-19, we had family members, my husband had family members who had COVID and were afraid to go to the hospital because they didn't think they had health insurance. How many times we put off taking care of ourselves because we don't think we can get care, even when we can? And so I had to say, listen, if they go to the hospital is going to sign them up for health insurance. Don't worry about it. You're going to get care. But there's that fear we have of those big bills. And so I think that's an important one. Anything else before we move on to some other things?
Just really the way that I've seen that he really advocates for the people. Like, his campaign isn't selfish. Like, I've seen a lot of selfish politics lately, and a lot of people only moving off their own interests, or a lot of people moving to be liked. I saw another video where Abdul was like, he said, I don't need you to like me. I need you to like you. And You know what? Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
So Haley is running on some things. Let's talk about what she
Okay.
says she's running on. It says Haley Stevens is fighting back. She's the only Democrat running for Senate who isn't a millionaire.
Okay.
She took on Trump to protect Obamacare, Medicare, and Social Security. She's ranked Michigan's most effective Democrat in the House. And we need Stevens in the Senate. Those are things on her website. Do any of those resonate with you?
Not really. Can you go back over it again?
Okay. She's the only Democrat running for Senate who isn't a millionaire.
Okay.
She took on Trump to protect Obamacare, Medicare, and Social Security. She's ranked Michigan's most effective Democrat in the House.
The Obamacare one.
You know, no million. You don't care if the candidate is a millionaire or not, if they're rich.
Not really. Not really. It's like
We're going to learn more about Abdul Al-Sayed's finances today. He says he's going to release his personal financial disclosure.
Okay.
The Stevens campaign has been hitting him over the head with that.
Okay.
Saying that he's hiding something. He's hiding perhaps foreign assets or his wife owns a property, I believe, in India.
That really bothers me. I have to say that.
Yeah.
Why should I care? This man is
don't care.
Rhodes Scholar. He's got a PhD and an MD, and his wife has an MD. And I'm mad they are almost millionaires. I don't care. And when you start asking, do these people who are first generation citizens of the United States have ties to people in other countries?
Duh.
That feels like Islamophobia to me. I'm going to be honest with you. It feels like you are implying that if you have a house in this place or you got money from these people that you must be bad. You know, it actually makes me angry.
Yeah.
That part makes me angry if I'm, and I don't want to get angry about that. It just does make me angry because it feels like, anyway, okay.
I'm sorry. I wanted to comment on that. I don't care how much money a politician makes. You went to school for all of these years and did all of these debates and you gonna have money. Like, I don't care how much money you make. Are you trying to do better for me or not?
He's written 2 books. He's a public speaker. I'm just saying, if you look at how much doctors make, we shouldn't be surprised that 2 doctors in the household make that. Let's talk about these are the things that she says. This is what I was looking for. Equitable federal investment, ensure federal resources and infrastructure investments are delivered equitably to underserved Michigan communities to strengthen public services, transit, and economic opportunity where it is needed most. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, it sounds like the same thing that I've been hearing a lot. Like, she's trying to win us over with Obama. I don't know.
Economic empowerment and access, expand access to capital and training for underserved communities, and advance an industrial policy that creates jobs, lowers costs, and strengthens Michigan's economic future.
I love the strengthening Michigan's economical future. In what ways are there any ways that she's investing in people my age? If she's invested in the economic future,
We'll get to that. Safer communities, advance fair and accountable policing,
Yes.
invest in community-based violence prevention, and strengthen common sense gun safety laws to protect families and rebuild trust.
That's decent. That's decent.
Family health and family stability, lower health care costs, advance health equity, protect science-based care, and defend Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid so families can live with dignity, health, and security.
Medicare and Medicaid are very important. I really do like that. Lower Medicare is definitely it would be more influencing if there wasn't another candidate advocating for free health care.
Education, innovation, and STEM workforce future. Ensure Michigan leads 21st century manufacturing and innovation by investing in education, STEM and job training pipelines, policies that strengthen the supply chain, and prepare workers for the industries of the future.
That is a place where I really do agree with her. I do feel like investing in education is very important. That is actually something that is really that would be convincing to me. I feel like education is probably the best place to invest, especially in STEM, and making sure that we are in the forefront of that. That is something I agree with.
Water and infrastructure. Prioritize safe, clean drinking water, invest in lead pipe replacement, and fight contamination like PFAS, especially in communities most affected by environmental injustice.
Okay, on that, I would like to say, yes, I would like to see that we invest in clean drinking water, but I also would like to see us also not investing in those data centers, those tech companies that are drinking up all of our water. I would also like to see that somewhere in her campaign too.
The last one is lowering housing costs, increase housing supply, support low-income families, seniors, and people with disabilities, and strengthen pathways to the middle class.
Lower housing costs to what? Because
No, it says increase housing supply.
Increase housing supply.
Support low-income families, seniors, and people with disabilities, and strengthen pathways to middle class. It doesn't say lower housing cost. So I'm just going through, these are the agenda items. Mm-hmm. And then I just want to close off, because this is important. The Michigan Hope Agenda is more than a policy document. It's a promise as part of my love letter to our Black and brown communities in Michigan.
That
together we can create a Michigan that works for people and our communities, not against them.
That is triggering me a little bit. That's triggering me a little bit. Just mainly because, like, I feel like her campaign is targeting us, like, a whole lot without, like, actually... I feel like her campaign targets us a lot, but it doesn't seem like once she actually gets in the office, that'll be something that will be a priority.
It almost feels like pandering to me.
Yes.
This love letter to Black and brown. You know who needs clean water? White people.
Yes. Like,
you know who needs housing? White people. Everybody needs these things. Why are you? You're saying this like it's our love letter to the Blacks, like the whites don't need it. Yeah. And when you position it like that, it almost makes it feel like, us against them rather than to our Michigan community.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot of that. That connects with a point that I tried to bring up earlier. I feel like we have been forced to believe that we can't trust anybody but each other. We have been forced to believe that it's either white or it's black, or black. Anybody who's not black is against us. And I also feel like that has opened a door for people who are white or who aren't black to, whenever they say that they love black people, that's opened a door for black people to actually listen to them. Or when they're supported by a black person, it's opened the door for black people to listen to them instead of actually considering all of their options and weighing all of their options because one person said, okay, I love black people, or okay, yeah, I'm writing a love letter to black people. Like, and I just feel like that's really
cringy.
It's like it makes me feel weird. I don't like that verbiage.
There's a couple things I don't see here, and I'm going to throw them out. I don't see anything here about water affordability.
Yeah.
And is water a human right?
Yes, water is a human right.
I don't see anything in here about housing affordability.
I thought you did. That's why I'm like, why
I had to reread it. I don't see anything. I hear about industry and creating industry, but I don't see anything in here about environmental protections.
Yeah. One thing, like especially with the housing, how are you wanting to increase housing availability but not wanting to lower housing prices?
I was driving to work today, and I was taking Werner.
Yeah.
And I turned left on McClellan. And there's this new company that's going to be building houses in that community.
Yeah.
And so I looked it up, and took the little thing, and, they have a little QR code, and I used it so I could look it up. And those houses are going to be $450,000 to $70,000.
You see what I mean?
And so you can build new housing without making that housing accessible to people inside of our community.
I can do you one better. How about you go into those low-income neighborhoods like mine, where there are abandoned houses all the way through the neighborhood, and fix those up and make those affordable housing.
See, that's why you and I are going to be friends, because that is exactly what I think. I think you start with fixing up the housing that we have.
Yes.
It is always going to be cheaper to take a vacant home and rebuild that vacant home than starting from scratch almost always. And you can say, no, you can't do it, but we're doing it. It's still expensive. You still need subsidy, but you can do for $100,000, $150,000 to an existing home what will cost $400,000 and $500,000 to do to a new home.
Yes, that's like why would you go and build homes that are going to be expensive when the homes that are already expensive they're not able to be bought because we're not making any money?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm as a person who lives in a neighborhood with at least three abandoned homes on my street. I would love to see y'all come out here and fix some of the houses.
Let's have that conversation.
Okay.
Let's have that conversation.
I would love to see somebody come out here and cut down all the weeds on the city's property. I would love to see somebody come out here and put windows in those houses that people who are less fortunate sneak into and just completely trash.
Right.
You know, I would love to see y'all actually invest in our community instead of letting people who aren't going to buy up the property and put things in our neighborhood that aren't going to help our neighborhood.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is that you think that we need to make your neighborhood secure.
Yes.
And then help restore your neighborhood.
Yes.
Because a lot of the neighborhoods now, how long have you lived in that neighborhood?
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with the neighborhood? What it was like 10 years ago? How old are you?
I'm 17, but I wasn't here 10 years ago.
You were 7 anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't in Detroit.
Where were you?
I was in Nashville.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you moved to Detroit when?
When I was in 7th grade, which was like 5 years ago. 5
Oh,
years
wow.
ago. Yeah.
Oh. So let's talk about your experience in Detroit compared to Nashville.
In Nashville, I lived in a housing project. It compared to what it is now, it was a lot better. But actually, it's being gentrified right now. Everything around it is gentrified, but it was never bad. Like, I was safe. I was a safe kid. Like, I was a kid who I could go outside and play with my friends. I knew at a certain time I have to go in the house because I know it gets kind of, after it gets dark, it gets a little, but I knew as a kid in that neighborhood, I was always safe. I was always going to be protected. But here, it's a little harder to believe that just based off the fact that I've experienced a lot of bad things here. Like on public transportation, I've seen multiple weapons. Just recently.
On the bus?
Yes. Just recently, a man tried to fight the bus driver. He got kicked off the bus, threw a brick through the window of the bus.
Did the window shatter?
It shattered. We had to wait for another bus. The neighborhood that I live in specifically, like I've been to higher income neighborhood, and that's not bad. But in the neighborhood that I live in specifically, there's no investment in my neighborhood. Like our school, the only school that I know of in our neighborhood, kids are allowed to do whatever they want.
Is that Duke Ellington?
Yes,
Academy?
yes, and that was a terrible experience for a school, and it really really explains why the neighborhood is what it is.
Well, let me ask you a question because you lived in public housing in Nashville.
Yes.
And public housing has been largely dismantled in the United States. Do you believe that rebuilding public housing makes sense?
No.
Why not?
Because when you tear the projects down, and you build something on top of the projects, where are all the people from the projects going to go?
So rebuilding the public housing so they have a place to go.
Yeah, if they're all coming back, it's going to end up in the same situation. I don't know.
What situation?
The shootings, the fighting, because when you're just rebuilding the buildings and not rehabilitating the people, it's not going to change anything.
So you think that we need to invest more in the people?
Yes.
And not just the physical housing
Yes,
stock?
because if you just change the housing, like that's not going to do anything.
So that's a really interesting concept. Tell me what you would do to rehab the people.
I feel like the first place that I would start personally, if that was I would start in trying to get people affordable counseling, as well as jobs, as well as affordable transportation, which we have here. We have pretty affordable transportation.
I see a lot of challenges in families.
Yeah,
Our families, sometimes it's like there's so much trauma that goes on, and people don't know how to get along with each other, and people carry that trauma and they take it out on each other. Do you think family therapy or some type of family interventions are necessary in order to stabilize our community?
Yes, but I feel like in some cases it might make it worse. I feel like self-therapy I feel like that should be first, and then on a case-by-case basis, that should be like family intervention if it's needed, or if that's something that feels appropriate, then that's definitely something that could help improve a lot of lives.
Yeah, because I see a lot of parents, and especially as people become teenagers, don't get along with their teenagers anymore. And you see a lot of families just broken up because of that. And the teenagers are couch surfing somewhere because the parents don't let them stay there anymore. And I think a lot of it is unhealed trauma on all sides.
Yes.
Like all of these bad things have happened to all of us. How can we live together in this space and be the people we want to be to each other?
Yeah, and then I think we also have to get out of that extreme survival mindset that I feel like a lot of people are in. Like a couple days ago, I walked into my gas station, the gas station by my house, and I heard some people talking about a club that they just opened or something like that. And I asked him, I said, why instead of, like, when you guys get money, why instead of investing in your community and starting something that could actually help, do we open things like clubs and gambling centers and stuff like that? And he told me to keep the mindset that I have, one, but he also said, that's all we know. He said, so you got to get it how you live. And I said, no, you don't. You don't have to get it that way. That's not the only option. That's just the only option that you were taught to have.
So let's talk about you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we haven't spent a lot of time talking about you. You're a student where?
Cass Tech.
What year are you?
I'm a senior.
And what role do you play in Detroit Public Schools?
I'm a DPSCD influencer, and as well as a DPD intern right now.
Detroit Police Department intern?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so you see a lot.
Yeah. Actually, it's changed my perspective on police a lot. I used to hate the police. Before, I didn't even know that this was going to be my job. And when I first got there, I hated it. And then I met two officers, Officer Smith and Officer Everett. They completely changed my perspective on police officers. And maybe it's just because I'm in recruiting. I don't know. But I've learned that a cop doesn't equal a bad person.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's the culture of policing, but not the individual officers. We had an incident in this building last year, and some officers came out, and we talked, and I really liked them. I was like, wow, these are great people.
Wonderful people.
Right? And so it is not the people who are in those uniforms, and a lot of times they are risking their lives, right?
Yeah. Like, from the stories I've heard, they do some crazy things. Like, they risk their lives every single day to make sure that we're safe. And I also learned a lot about myself, and that I also marginalize people sometimes. And I want to admit that I did make that mistake in saying like all police officers are bad, just because I've had a couple bad experiences with them. Like, I've been racially profiled before by a police officer, and I feel like I let that make me hate police.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the human nature, right?
Yeah.
We have this experience with that bad group. We already talked about happening with Arabs and other people of color, right?
Yeah.
So let me tell you want to be what when you graduate? What is your ambition?
I don't want to put myself in a box. But I do want to be a filmmaker. I do want to work in creating opportunities in music and media for young people, because I know a lot of times I feel like those types of dreams are told, people with those types of dreams are told to have a backup plan, or that dream might be a little too high. But a phrase that I really like to go by is shoot for the sun. Even if you fall, you'll be amongst the stars.
That's great.
Yes.
Look, I think you need a backup plan.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to you, and you. How old are you?
I'm 17.
17.
Yes, ma'am.
And you already have a pretty sophisticated political philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have ideas about so many things, and you're just going to get smarter and more knowledgeable as you go
ma'am.
on. Would you consider politics?
I actually have.
Okay.
as a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a councilwoman. And that dream didn't go away. I think my passion just kind of won my heart over, because I do have a really big passion for music and filmmaking.
Yeah. What's that song by Kendrick? I Can Have It All. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Maybe not all at once, but I think as you think about your future, we have people who have these ideals and they're really, convicted in them, and they do other things. And then we have people running for office. And somehow I see in you a person who can actually do some stuff, get your creativity there, and at the same time do a really good job representing, because you told me that you have a really compelling life story.
Yes, ma'am.
And is that what drives you?
Yes. Honestly, everything that I went through as a child, and the fact that I'm just now able to be supported in the way I need to, the fact that I had to see my mom struggle for so long, I'm determined to never go back to that place.
Yeah.
I'm determined to make it off of Corbett. I'm determined to become something bigger than what I am right now, and to never go back to being that person that everybody saw as nothing.
I just want to tell you that you give me hope. When I talk to you and I hear what you've been through, but I see who you are, how accomplished and poised you are, it just gives me hope that our future is in good hands. There's so many people who talk about young people as though somehow young people are a problem. And all of the conversations we've been having, what's wrong with young people today? Come on now. There's
They're
so
not only
many.
a problem, they're the solution. Tell them they're the solution.
And the solution, and you have a vision and more ideals than so many people who are older than you, and that's why it's so important to have young people as leaders. Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Gretchen Whitmer endorsed Haley Stevens. What are your thoughts?
I don't want to hear anything else about somebody endorsing Haley Stevens. I want to know what Haley Stevens is going to do for me. I want to know. I actually, and I love Big Rich. Love Big Rich. Big Rich she's great. But I don't care what she has to say about Haley Stevens. I want to know what Haley Stevens has to say about what she's going to do for youth.
So I've heard you say some really amazing things. You love our mayor, Mary Sheffield.
Yes, I love it.
You love Big Rich.
Yes.
Who are other politicians you love?
I love Big Rich. I love Mary. I love Mondani. Who else do I love? I love Dean. Do you know who Dean is?
Oh, the
He's
white
not
guy?
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not really in
He's a
politics.
commentator.
Yeah.
Dean Withers, I think is his name.
Freaking love Dean. Freaking love Dean.
I want to ask you about President Obama.
Yeah.
You got any memories of that or no?
I just remember not having to think about politics when Obama was in office. And as a kid, that was something that, like, when Donald Trump got in office, I became extremely aware of politics all of a sudden. And I was 8. So the first 8 years of my life, Obama was the president.
So you were born in 2008?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The first 8 years of my life, Obama was president. So
right.
I wasn't worried about politics.
But at 8, you thought about politics.
Because, I had to at that point.
And I hear from folks, it's a lot different. I was in college when Trump was elected. I was a freshman or a sophomore in college when Trump was elected. I was a sophomore that year.
Yeah.
And so I was almost a year and a half, 2 years removed from being in high school. But I remember hearing from my friends who are in a grade below me how much it affected their high school experience, Donald Trump's presidency and the campaign. And I went to a predominantly white school in Midland. Mm-hmm. People that went to DPS schools around that time tell me that it was like people. There might have been some, some. I don't want to say misinformation, but people thought that Trump was going to come in and just kill us all. Is that kind of like the thought? Like people were like, "Oh wow, like America's over, it's over. Like he's gonna send us back to Africa." Was that something that you heard?
That I'm smart, so I'm pretty smart. So I knew he's not just gonna like come murder all of us.
Right.
But I also knew that he doesn't have my best interest at heart, and that he also will not support me. Because, like I said, I'm a black woman and I'm also a lesbian. Mm-hmm. nothing that he stands for is something that will benefit me. He's trying to take away my right to get married. He's trying to take away the right for me to have an abortion. There's all different types of things that I just know he's not somebody who will benefit me. And honestly, I prefer my presidents without felonies, but that might just be a me thing.
You know what? I want to be really
great.
careful about that too, right?
Yes.
Because I have friends who are returning citizens
Yeah.
who feel as though when we say things like that, and I know this is not how you meant it,
Yeah.
that we are saying things that further marginalize them.
Yeah.
But, Donald Trump is not a returning citizen.
Yeah.
He didn't pay for any of his crimes.
Yeah, he didn't at all.
There's no consequences to him. And so I think when I hear you say that, you're not saying that you would not support somebody who had done a crime, done their time, and then redeemed themselves.
No. What I'm saying is I would prefer to have somebody who either one didn't do those things, or two did those things and actually did something to rehabilitate it. Donald Trump has done nothing but prove that he's just going to do it again.
Right. So, he's currently corrupt.
Yes.
And if he had a chance to do it again,
He
he'd do
would.
it again. That's the feeling.
He'd jump at it. Yes.
Right. Yes. So I just wanted to draw that because I do have friends and they hear that a different kind of way.
Yes. Oh, I don't have anything. I don't have anything against felons. My stepdad is actually a felon, and he's one of the most innovative and wise men I know. And if I could vote for him, I would.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you.
Okay.
I want to ask you an interesting question that I always think.
Yes.
All the three people, well, 1, 2, 3, 4 people that are doing this podcast, Michael and Griffin are behind camera, and of course Donna. What generation are you a part of?
Me?
Yeah. Are you Gen X?
I say I'm Gen X, but I'm actually the tail end of boomer.
You're a boomer. Okay. And so all of us are technically, according to Google, a part of Gen Z. Jay, you were born in 2008.
Yes.
You got friends that are 14, 15 right now. What's the difference between Gen Z and Gen Alpha? Because 2010, Gen Z ends, and it's now a new generation called Gen Alpha. Are you familiar with Gen Alpha?
Yes,
And
I am.
What's the difference between them?
I feel like in the closer age gaps, it's a little harder to tell.
Okay.
But in those ones that are just a little farther, they're really bratty. They're really, really bratty.
Maybe that's just that they're 7, 8,
maybe
9-year-olds.
it's just because it's just they're a different type. Because I was a very polite and well-mannered kid. They're just really but I don't say that as it's a bad thing. I love that they have their own opinions and they have really strong minds. That's actually something I really admire.
They're people also who really grew up in the wake of a pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that impact on them has to be different than what your childhood was
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
Although you how old were you when
the pandemic hit? I think I was in 5th grade. I think I was
Wow.
10.
And so to go through that as a child, not realizing, I think the first thing is not realizing how different Donald Trump's presidency was.
Yeah.
I think kids younger than me by maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years,
Yeah.
they don't have a full grasp on how Trump completely upended the Republican Party and how it was so shocking to watch, not just as a person, perhaps, like Donna on the left or yourself, but to the conservative Republicans. I mean, conservatives in Midland, Bay City, Saginaw that I knew who were like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? This is an NBC Celebrity Apprentice. What are we doing, Republican Party? It was such a episode. And then you had the pandemic years later that was so weird. I never thought that something like that could ever happen. It wasn't on anyone's bingo card, right?
That's probably because it probably shouldn't have happened. I feel like there was better ways that could have been dealt with.
Sure.
And it didn't have to be a pandemic.
Sure.
But that might be just an opinion.
Well-
we're in the midst of a semi-epidemic right now, right?
Right.
In the state of Michigan. How do you pronounce that?
I don't know, but it's lettuce. Yeah,
we don't know
cyclosporia.
we don't know if it's lettuce. There's people who have not eaten lettuce. There's
Oh,
people
wow.
who have. The FDA is investigating, but you think this man laid off all of these people, or
Yes. And-
who are in the scientific investigators who could
Yes.
actually help us figure out what's going on.
That's one thing. And all of these storms that our power going out because nobody wants to investigate global warming. It's just everything. Like, I really want a president who cares about our environment and our food and our care and us. I want.
Even when I think about, speaking of care,
Yeah.
all of the health workers who are being deported in senior homes are like, we don't have enough staff to really take care of people. The kind of short-term crisis that we're in right now is really scary to me because,
And then not only that, it's the fact that we are acting like we don't have time to deal with internal issues, but we're fighting other people's wars. That's something that's very interesting to me because we don't have money to employ scientists, to employ people who can help climate control, but we have money to send money to other countries to help fight a war that they're already winning.
We got a lot of money going around in the United States. That criticism is something that I've been hearing on the campaign trail. It is debate night. We are recording on Monday, July 27th. After this episode is published, you guys will have already seen the U.S. Senate Democratic primary debate between U.S. Representative Haley Stevens of Birmingham and Abdul Al-Sayed of Ann Arbor. Abdul, of course, is the former Detroit and Wayne County health director. I got to go to the debate. It's at Fox 2 in Southfield, and so I'm going to go home and take a shower and go to Southfield. My phone has been absolutely buzzing, and it's been a whirlwind for me. I can't lie, y'all. Of course, as you guys see, I'm at the heart of this national discourse over what black voters are going to do. We appreciate all of you guys reading my work at Michigan Chronicle and on Twitter.
Can I just say how proud I am of you, Sam? I really am. I think that you are just doing an amazing job being in the street, talking to people, finding out about things. And you're not, really what you're doing is listening, talking, and representing Detroit in a way I have not seen us represented. So I'm really proud.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Jay, I want to thank you for joining us. When I saw your name on our thing, I was like, yes. You followed through because I'd be telling people, like, come on, like, join the show. Like, I really wanted a young perspective about this Senate primary. When I met her, it just felt like you were already, that was like, you're 17 years old? What?
17 going on what?
Right. And so we want to thank you for our discussion. We close out every show by doing shout outs. If you have anybody that you think you want to shout out, maybe something, maybe one person, maybe several people. Don't mean to put you on the spot. I can start with Donna.
Okay. Oh, shout out Philip Johnson, my baby, my son. He came to Detroit and he was in the film festival for LGBT Detroit's Hotter Than July Film Festival. He has a series that is now on Here TV, and he showed the fourth episode of the series. So there's been 2 have been released, one next week and one the week after. But this one, he was not only writing, acting, directing, but he was actually acting in it. Mm-hmm. And he was so fantastic. I was so proud of him for everything he's done to make his dreams come true and just represent his community so well and all the sacrifice of time and everything he made. Mama could not be more proud.
Yeah. I like to shout out a few people. The first person I would love to shout out is Aaron Walters. That was the first man who ever believed in me. I just hope he knows how much I appreciate him, how much he changed my life. Another man who I want to shout out is Hugh Johnson, who is helping me host a few events called Stacklands Open Mic Nights. He's really been a driving force in me being able to make this possible and create a lot of opportunities for kids who want to work in music or media and production. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I really want to say thank you so much.
I want to shout out some people that I worked with in Kalamazoo. You guys don't know these people's names. Maybe I've talked about Mickey Shikila before, but Brendan Buffa was the editor at the Western Herald when I first started. I was covering sports. I hadn't even thought of doing news or political coverage. When I was at MLive, Kalamazoo Gazette, Mark Tower was my main editor. Mickey Shikilo is the regional manager of MLive that gave me my first shot. Mark Tower left journalism. Mickey Shikilo is now at Cranes. And I also want to give another shout out to Malachi Barrett. He is sort of the reason why I'm going so hard right now. I would say that I would try to compete with Malachi, but I never really did. He was much better than me and was always just there and was willing to give more of his time. He sacrificed himself for the public, and I'm finally now, I think, I'm 29 years old. I think I'm finally feeling how he felt, just sort of giving your life up for public consumption of information in our community.
Protect Sam Robinson, y'all.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
But let me just say this.
Yeah.
Jay, you have to come back.
Yeah.
I really want to have your thoughts after the election.
Okay.
So we can get your thoughts on what does this mean. Okay. And of course, we want to partner with you on some things. You're an Eastsider.
Yes, ma'am.
And a real credit to this community. So let's stay connected.
Okay, we will for sure. I'll definitely stay in contact.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. If you guys listening, I also want to thank all you guys listening and watching and reading. Please keep it locked. We're going to have more from voters all across Metro Detroit on this U.S. Senate race. The next episode, is that going to be the Monday? Yeah, that's going to be August 3rd. And so that'll come as the polls are closing, as you guys are hitting the polls on Tuesday, August 4th. We want to thank you so much for listening to Authentically Detroit. Please hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or you can visit our website, authentically-detroit.com. We want to thank you so much for listening. And one last time, if you missed the candidate forum, of course, Haley and Abdul are not going to be the only people on your Democratic primary ballot. You guys have legislative races that are sort of microcosms of the greater dynamics playing out nationally and statewide. So if you missed the candidate forum that ECN held, please check it out. The full replay is on Authentically Detroit YouTube channel under live videos. Thank you guys so much.
Almost 1,000 views so far.
Let's go. Let's pass the 1K mark, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.